My name is Michael Bernier. I own Rhapsody's Victorian Coffee House in Franklin, Massachusetts. VBOI, I met them in the unemployment line. They have a veterans room, I guess you could call it. And veterans got to see things that other people weren't exposed to right away. So Jerry Pinsky came in and told us a little bit about himself, and he asked me point blank, what do you want to do? It's really that simple. So it was something totally unrelated to my previous career. I just thought it'd be cool to own a coffee shop. So one thing led to the other. And so I came to class. I was exposed to his seminar, which I was exposed to before in college because I went through college on my GI Bill afterwards, but put me through this class again, which acted to me as a refresher course. Teaches you about yourself. Well, one thing led to the other, and we develop our business plan, our business ideas, share it with the group, which is, I think, the biggest advantage is you get to share these things with the group. One idea leads to the other. One person has feedback or a response, which builds on that same idea, and then the whole thing grows. Pretty cool little process. VBOI is a business roundtable where we're all business minded. We all have our own goals, so we share ideas and thoughts. And sometimes what's obvious to us in someone else's life isn't obvious to ourselves. So we get to have that camaraderie and share ideas without anyone getting offended. The most recent example I can think of was somebody who were talking about a business card, and I looked at the card and said, "This card doesn't tell me anything about you." So we fixed it. Something as simple as that, you just don't realize, but we need that interaction. If you're a veteran, I think it makes perfectly good sense to become a member of the VBOI to see what it can do for you. It's not for everybody. Not everybody can be an entrepreneur, but at least you should look at that option. If you're a little bit in a soul-searching mode, it doesn't hurt to look at this. There are a lot of benefits for being an entrepreneur. You have to have a love for obstacles, believe it or not. They're not always negative. It's a challenge, and life is a challenge, isn't it? Sometimes you have to be amongst the same mindset to bring that out. Sometimes you have a lot to give, and sometimes they have a lot to give. I'm more there for other people at this point because I've always been kind of driven, and I think it helps that people see how driven I am and how I persevere. So I can tell you all kinds of banking stories and horror shows about trying to get financed, but in the end you persevere. People got to see that, and you have to be willing to give up everything. It's not something you do at half measures. It's one of those things that you gotta, once your mind's made up, you do it. Well, Jerry has an interesting way of presenting the modules. He's not in your face about it. He lets you figure it out. The biggest takeaway, I think, is when we had these cards of all these character traits that we would lay out, and we would go through this deck of character traits, and we would pick out the ones that we think influence us or are more like us or maybe like us and not at all like us. And so we have our own stack. And when that came out and we shared it with the group thought differently than we thought of ourselves, which is an eye-opener. That was definitely an eye-opener. So of the things I thought I was terrible at, they thought I was great at. Oh, really? So it makes you think. It's all about the evolutionary process, I guess you could call it. There are some people there that are absolutely amazing. They could ask you for a favor and you'd be more than happy to do it, and vice versa. So if I needed somebody there, they would be there. It's the same thing in the field. When you're amongst veterans, I keep thinking of one of the old storylines I used to hear as a kid, like it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, but those are the things that bind, and it's a fantastic feeling to be amongst that kind of company.